Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show.
Olá Bom Dia ALEGRIA, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, John. Are you still in Salamanca, John? Even though you're wishing us a Bom Dia Portugal and Bom Dia Carl and campus from Jackie as well. Who else is here? Let us know if you will in the chat. The ever popular Paul Rees joining us at around 8:20 this morning as we have a look at the news, weather, language, culture and well-being first. The potpourri that starts the day here on the Good Morning Portugal show, and Paul with us from about 8:20. We don't have Heather with us today. She's traveling. She'll be back soon. And if you catch this later, Heather, I hope you had a lovely time. And let's have a look at that news, weather, language, culture and well-being then. And if you saw the beginning of the show, my opening sequence there, you'd have seen Tough Cookie, not spelled I-E cookie, but cookie as in C-O-O-K-Y. And the news item from the Portugal news this morning that I'd like to share with you is that surprise news, I would say. And then when you think about it, fair enough. Portuguese cuisine, one of the most difficult to master in the world. Would you agree? Let me know in the chat, if you will. And that's a cataplana right there, isn't it? Oh, yes, a tricky cataplana. That doesn't look an especially difficult dish to put together, does it? But a new study has revealed the most challenging cuisines for tourists to learn to cook. A new study has revealed the most challenging cuisines for tourists to learn to cook, ranking Portuguese recipes second ahead of French and Indian dishes. Sacre bleu, I can hear French people. This is nonsense. What are you talking about? And Indian dishes as well. And I always think of, for example, yesterday we had the best meal we've ever had in a car showroom. So we were, hi Mike, good to see you here as well. We went out for a drive. Sounds like such an old-fashioned thing to do, doesn't it? It sounds like the 1970s. Went out for a drive, like a Sunday. But anyway, we like to do that. We spend a lot of time at home and a lot of time working at home. And it's nice to get out and about. And so getting out and about, look at that lovely array of PA speakers there. You can tell what I've been researching, can't you, on the screen? We had the best meal yesterday that we've ever had in a car showroom. Probably, I think it's the only meal we've had in a car showroom, but it was really very good. And very homely in a good British sense, not in an American sense, homey or homely. It was delicious. And this was in a car showroom. Portuguese people know how to cook very comforting and delicious food. But until seeing this article, I wouldn't have put it down as one of the most difficult to master in the world. But maybe we shouldn't let the simplicity fool us or lead us into a false sense of security. The research here, conducted by travel experts CV Villas, analysed the 10 most popular dishes. Thank you, Portugal News, for this. From 50 global cuisines. Well, that's a great job to have, isn't it? I could have helped you, CV Villas, analysing the 10 most popular dishes from 50 global cuisines. I've got a feeling they probably didn't eat all 500 dishes. They just had a look at how difficult it might be to cook and ranked the recipe data based on difficulty, preparation time, and the number of ingredients. And what a great PR wheeze this has turned out to be for CV Villas. You're employing a good company here, folks. These metrics were indexed to create the confusing cuisine score. To CCS, hashtag CCS this morning, out of 100, establishing the cuisines posing the most problems for optimistic holidaymakers. I see. So you go traveling and then you try and cook what are the top dishes. I mean, you're on holiday. Why would you do that to yourself? Don't you go on holiday to eat the food at restaurants rather than try and cook it yourself? I mean, yeah, okay. Posing the most problems for optimistic holidaymakers, in which Portugal scored 60.50. The top 5 most challenging cuisines, they say, are number 1, China. At number 5, Vietnam, 4, India, 3, Greece, and at number 2, Portugal. Portugal emerged as a close contender for the top spot, ranking second globally with intricate pastries and seafood dishes. I don't think cooking seafood is complicated or difficult. It's about the right ingredients, isn't it? But, I guess try my my I was going to say my linguine, seafood linguine. That's not that's not Portuguese, is it? So in the end, thinking about it, I've never cooked a cataplana at home. I do use a lot of Portuguese seafood and like cooking fish, but maybe not in a truly Portuguese style. So yes, maybe this is right then. And what's I think has changed my mind on this, or convinced me that there may be some truth in it, is that the study found that the pastel de nata study, a bit like my sunshine study, isn't it? Which I must top up. Although there's not much to say. There was, as I foretold yesterday, an outbreak of sunshine yesterday amid the rain, and we got soaked at one point. Anyway, the study found that the pastel de nata, Portugal's iconic custard tart, is one of the most difficult dishes to recreate. There you go, requiring 14 ingredients. Can you imagine? The humble pastel de nata, it's simple, isn't it? It seems simple, but however, it requires 14 ingredients and over 145 minutes of preparation. And that's why we should leave them to it and just go and eat them in the bakeries and not try this at home. This ranking reflects a broader trend of European cuisines dominating the list of the most challenging to master. Greece placed third. I've had a holiday in Greece, and I did, I bought tomatoes and feta cheese and made a salad at home. That didn't seem especially difficult. However, I think they're not talking about that basic stuff, are they? So yeah, France, Spain, they're all in there, reinforcing the Mediterranean's reputation for sophisticated cooking methods. Again, I don't think it's sophisticated. I'm not saying it's not good, but I wouldn't have it down as. And I don't like complex cookery. I like simple cookery. I don't like things where you have to get up at 6 a.m. and I don't know, roll out your phyllo and then stick it in the fridge and make sure you've got a chilled marble slab. And meanwhile, you're caramelizing your cherry tomatoes or whatever. Ben Briggs, head of marketing. The climax comment from Ben Briggs, who I suspect commissioned this research, commented that food is central to the holiday experience, which is why we conducted this research to highlight the diversity and complexity of cuisines worldwide. For European travelers, it's particularly fascinating to see how our neighbors in Portugal, Greece, and France, I think it's a Spanish company, have shaped culinary traditions that are equal parts inspiring and challenging to replicate. So there you go. Who knew? We have Portugal. In this particular survey, one of the most difficult to master in the world. That's Portuguese cuisine. What do you make of that? Let me know. Hugh, would you? I'm sure Hugh's got a view on that. Is Portuguese cuisine one of the most difficult to master in the world? Think about Portuguese cuisine. It is best to just go out and eat it, isn't it? Why make it? Why try and recreate it at home? Oh, thanks for the love, Gabby. See you soon at the weekend. The party's getting ever closer, everybody. Bom dia, Gumpers. E feliz quarta. How is it Wednesday already? It's a blooming good question, that is. A very wet trip to Castelo de Almorol. That's the castle. That's the island in the stream, isn't it? Let's have a little snatch of that, shall we? 13 seconds of a castle in the rain. It's like being on a school trip. Yes, it is. Imagine yourself. You've got your packed lunch in your backpack and you've got a cagoule on and you're a bit soggy. Let's have a look. Thank you for thinking of us with these, Coach. 913-590-303 is where to send them. And this is in my Rees folder, as it turns out. We've got video from Paul on some of his renovations in central Portugal. And we like the videos, don't we? We like to see what he's been up to in the houses. So here you go. We are in the... did you actually... on this matter of Almorol Castle, did you wade across to it? Did you get a boat? Did you wait for low tide? What did you do, Coach? Looks like blooming snow there. Let me just take a comment off and roll that again. Roll that VT once more. And yeah, it looks like snow coming down there. Maybe just the way the camera's caught it. There's a little sign there, isn't there? Does a sign say, "Please don't wade out to the castle"? What's the standard way of getting there? And can you imagine that day when the general said, "Look, okay, have a drink by the river, have a wash, lads. we're going to be building a castle here this afternoon. And that's what they came up with. Where is that again? Almorol. There you go. There's the spelling, João Ernesto. I want to go there at some point, Castelo de Almorol. And how was Constancia? Did you go for a little swim in the river there yesterday? And Hugh with a good morning from Hugh Forestier Walker and Jane Forestier Walker. Very formal this morning, Hugh. Catherine also here. See you at the weekend, I hope too. Excellent. Right. Okay. So talking of the weekend, should we have a look and see what the weather's going to be like for our gathering? No, hold on. We finished with you, Portuguese cuisine for the time being. No, nobody's answering that question. Is Portuguese cuisine some of the most difficult to cook? Anyway, let's go look at the weather, particularly for Sunday morning. Now, how it's looking for the weekend. The party will be on the Saturday night, and things are coming together to make that happen. And we have a Zoom. So, okay, let me just rewind. I think some people will be here from Friday in town, so maybe there'll be drinky poos on Friday night. Then there's going to be more drinky poos on Saturday because it's the Caldas de Rainha Beer Festival. Looking forward to going along to that. And I think the Prohibition Bar and Richard Allen, who mentioned us yesterday, folks. Hey, Henry Jeffries is in the country as well from Pedrogan. Oh, you say it, Henry. Pedrogo Paquino. Is that the right spelling? I think you've thrown me there with your Pedregal right there. But Pedrogo Paquino is where Henry is this morning. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you soon as well, Henry. Good Morning Portugal. I was interviewed for a home in the sun, a place in the sun, getting away to the sun, something about the sun and getting away in Europe. We were interviewed. Colin and I popped into the Prohibition Bar last year and we were interviewed for a TV show. And I believe it aired yesterday. I got a message from Richard Allen, or there was a post which had us linked. What's it called when you link someone into your post? Anyway, we were CC'd on that. Pedrogan. There you go. Yeah, with an O in the middle there. Thank you. No, it just threw me. I mean, that is not an easy word. And you've got the little till on the A, I believe, as well. There's all sorts going on in there. Lots to go wrong. Lots of variables in Pedrogan. Yeah, we were featured. We were mentioned, or I was interviewed. And then I got a message from John Rooney last night. You were blurred. So I haven't seen it. I don't know what it looks like, but it's nice to have a little mention of Good Morning Portugal show or whatever it was we said on that TV show that aired on Channel 4 yesterday afternoon at around 4 o'clock, I think. It would have been dangerous to try and wade across, and the little boat that takes you across wasn't running. Probably only runs at high season. The cafe was a bit quiet. Pedrogan, thank you very much. And James is in Ericeira shaking his head saying, Carl, please. Stop saying it, especially like that. Pedrogan. And we'll ask Paul Rees. We'll get the skinny on that when he arrives. Portuguese looks like Welsh cuisine. Grab whatever is in the larder, shove it in the nearest pan, cook somehow, chuck it on a plate and give it a fancy name. And hey, presto, a posh meal. Yeah, I think that's not a million miles off there. And all about, maybe the difference between the Welsh cuisine and the Portuguese is the availability of seafood. I don't know. I mean, I guess there must be some. What is it? 10B, where you can get lovely crab and so. Pedrogan. Okay, thanks. Thank you there, James. Yeah, I think there's some similarity that you're referring to there, Jackie. But it's interesting, isn't it, to think of it as a difficult cuisine to cook, when so much of it is about the fresh ingredients and tradition and combinations of things rather than very complex cooking processes, which I would definitely associate more with the French. Anyway, where was I? I was drinking on Friday night. I was drinking on Saturday at the Caldas de Rainha Beer Festival. I drove past the Expo West Centre where it will be in Caldas de Rainha on Saturday. And then we need to get back and set up for the party. That's the high point, the apex of the weekend. Which will be the party. Looking forward to seeing the gathering of folks on Saturday evening. People coming from all over, from Madeira, from UK, from all over Portugal to be there. It's going to be lovely. And then on Sunday morning, just to shake off any cobwebs and dust, we're having a Zumba. I wonder if Paul Rees has joined us behind the scenes. I wonder if he's a Zumba advocate. I can't see him in pink or orange lycra, but that could all change on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, where you're invited to do so. There is talk of me and my Pride Mankini, but I'm not sure that's called for or appropriate for that matter, or even civilized, you might say. So let's see what the weather will be like for our 11 o'clock Zumba session, led by the wonderful Vina, who's new to San Martino de Porto and is treating us to some Zumba action on the Sunday morning at 11. So get yourself down there. Don't forget, if you are coming to join us at the weekend, then bring orange and pink lycra, I think is her invitation. A little bit of sunshine maybe next Monday in Lisbon. We're pinpointing outbreaks of sunshine. I really want to see more sun, honestly. That's what I moved here for, in case you hadn't already noticed my cries for sunshine. Faro, Friday, there will be some sun, as we said yesterday, but also Monday is sunny. The sun is coming back. He's got his hat on. Beja next Monday, sunny. Castelo Branco, the sun is returning, everybody, to Portugal. Castelo Branco, Évora, Leiria, Porto Alegre, Santarém. Sunny day forecast for Monday. However, Sunday, let's have a look for Leiria. Zumba session on the green outside Palmeira. Okay, it's going to be cloudy, which might be good because many of us may break into an unseemly sweat or perspiration or a glow, depending on how you wish to position and place that. So a bit of cloud might be a blessing at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. So there you go. There's your weather. And I want to remind you very quickly, if I may, of a Bom Dia Daily deal, which is 10% off Expats Portugal membership. And if you're thinking to yourself, why would I want to join Expats Portugal? I'm already here in Portugal. Well, Expats Portugal are doing a whole lot more to help you, having landed here in Portugal, as well as the sterling work that's done with Expats Portugal and the Dream Team in getting over to the country in the first place. But if I share with you the itinerary for the next few weeks of webinars, accent marks matter. Okay. All right. Pedrogal. I think so. There is an accent on Pedrogal. Okay. So a little controversy about the spelling and pronunciation. Paul is gesticulating behind the scenes. We'll get the absolute lowdown. We'll get the Debrett's pronunciation of Pedrogal. As the King of England might say it in a little while. Okay, that's the first thing we will address on his arrival, as well as rolling some VTs. Captured some great video footage of the projects that he's working on at the moment. Right, where were we? Expats Portugal. Very quickly then, if I may, in the remaining minute of the Bom Dia Daily. This Thursday, essential tips for buying and driving a car in Portugal. You see, you might have landed and you might need that. Some help on buying a car. Followed by the town hall afterwards, which is always great fun to host. Then look, uncovering Portugal's past. Next Thursday, the story of Philippa of Lancaster. She was the English bride who came to João I and gave him the illustrious generation, I believe. I was writing about this for the Resident this week. And she was the mother of Henry the Navigator and Edward the Philosopher. I think he was the 11th king of Portugal. So that'll be a great evening, uncovering more of Portugal's history with Philomena there. And it's with author Isabel Stilwell. Wow, who sounds like she might be a relative of the Philippa of Lancaster, doesn't she? Isabel Stilwell. There's a bit of Portuguese there and a bit of British, I think, Isabel Stilwell. Paul probably knows Isabel Stilwell. We should find out about that in just a moment as well. Portuguese citizenship, that's on February the 27th. You see, that's for you if you're already here and looking into the distance. Hank and Connie's a Saturday social. That happens, I believe that's the first Saturday of every month. Philomena back with Portuguese language and culture. And look, a good one coming up on March the 13th. This segues nicely into Paul Rees and a bit of rural property action in just a moment. Don't take this the wrong way, Paul, but humidity, mold, ventilation, and thermal comfort issues under the spotlight on March the 13th. All of these webinars are available to you as an Expats Portugal member. And if you quote GMP on checkout, you'll get a 10% discount on their membership packages. Did I not put those on the screen? How silly of me. There you are. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will put the link to the calendar so you can see those for yourself into the chat now, and give a big round of applause to my friend and yours, Paul Rees in central Portugal. Let's bring him on.
Good morning.
Tudo bem?
What a fantastic crowd. Love the applause.
Rapturous, isn't it? Right. Very, very good to see you. Nice to get a round of applause at 20 past 8.
What was the question about Pedrógão?
There you go. He said it, everybody. That's how you say it, Pedrógão. It's not that difficult, is it? Especially when you've
said there's two accents on it.
Yes, as we can see on the screen at the moment, right? The first one
but what is its meaning, dear viewer?
Oh, Pedrógão.
It is disputed.
Is it a little dragon?
Pedrógão? No, it's not. Pedrógão. Pequena was founded in 150 BC by the Romans.
Was it?
Yeah,
I remember it well.
I believe it means a white rock. So there may well have been a white rock in the granite overlooking the river, because it was a crossing before the Philippine Bridge, which was erected in 1608 to 10. I think she had a short period of Philippine-ness. There's a Roman bridge there, and you can still see the foundations either side of the Roman bridge. So it's always been a crossing point.
Did you really just say Filipinas?
No.
Okay, good, excellent. Let's move on then.
So hold on a minute. The second point about what goes through your mind this time of day. It's quite concerning. I mean, it's too early for me, my old son.
Okay.
I
can barely speak now. I can barely speak. There's quite a lot to process there. Big rocks, white rocks.
White. Yeah.
But that's for Pedrógão, means white rock, doesn't it? So you've got Grande.
I believe it. Actually, its meaning is disputed, but that's one of the.
Big white rocks and small white rock. Okay, and 150 BC. That's incredible. So I think we've sorted that out. We've got the pronunciation. Good. We've got the derivation. Do you know Isabel Stilwell? That was the other question I had.
I'm not sure. I mean, the Stilwell name goes back decades in Portugal. I knew.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was a Stilwell in the Algarve who was a friend of my dad. So he would have been born in 1918, 1920, who was one of the developers of tourism, and I believe was involved in the Penina Golf Course and Hotel when it was built. I'm pretty sure he was in charge of building the hotel. And I've been in touch with his son for some reason, but also there's a Stilwell on the board of EDP. A long Portuguese name was Stilwell as one of them. So it's a well embedded name.
That's amazing, isn't it? So like the port families in the north, where you see British sounding names. These are Brits who came long ago and made their way into society for different reasons here in Portugal.
Yeah, 60s and 70s, that group. I mean, the main swathe came in the post Faro Airport, right. which was in the late 60s, I believe. So the sort of 70s and 80s when my parents arrived, they were the second wave. The first wave was a 4-hour drive down from Lisbon.
Yes, of course. Yes. And was Mr. Stilwell possibly the gentleman who was among the first to create holidaying in Portugal as an idea? And he laid on I don't know if it is the same person, but I've been wanting to find out about a wonderful couple that I read about in one of the English language papers, who discovered Portugal in that sort of Christopher Columbus kind. I mean, it was always here, of course, and people were here, but discovered it for a new constituency, if you like, and decided to put on a kind of early PR effort probably in the 1960s, and had the journalists conveyed from. Would they have come? How would they have arrived in the Algarve? Anyway, the part of their journey into the holiday that he laid on for them was to get into a donkey and cart scenario and be carried that way to enjoy their holiday. Do you know who that is? I mean, he looked like a proper British fellow with a almost a tweed or plaid suit on and thick glasses and a pork pie hat. Do you know who that might be?
There were some extraordinary post-war characters that came to Algarve really early. There was a well-known one who had business interests in and around Albufeira. I can't remember his name. He was I think he was a hurricane pilot. Pat somebody. I can't remember.
What brilliant characters and legends. A
hurricane. No, they were. They're extraordinary. There was Timmy Thomas as well, who I think was shot down more than he shot down anything else. But the other one, the Albufeira one, had bars. Yeah, the original bars for in and around Albufeira. Fascinating guy. But his obituary, it was like a boy's own story. I mean, I think he shot down 23 enemy aircraft. I just thought, well, I think I'm retired to the beach. I knew somebody that was close to him when I interviewed her, well in her 90s, and she said, "Oh dear boy, he was barely sober from the day he arrived." Well, good luck to him, I say. But no, the early characters, I think stood out because there were few and far between.
That must have been. Can you imagine, Paul, coming here on holiday and meeting him in a bar and just hearing the story?
The expat, the lady I interviewed, I asked her what it was like here in the 60s when she arrived. Yes. She said, "Darling, I'd been brought up in a large house in Berkshire. The next thing I knew, I was surrounded by drunks and beaches." Said it was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, quite an interesting time period there, but well before my baselines in the early 80s.
Incredible. I mean, I suppose there's still a lot of mileage in that, isn't it? And the further we move away from them and their time, in many ways, the more mythical and legendary their stories and their personas become. There's still a lot to be said about them, and I think we should remember them.
If you want to research it, the Anglo-Portugal News.
Oh yes,
a long-running publication edited by Mr. Len Port, superhero international journalist.
He's still writing things, isn't he?
He's still alive. Yeah, he's still knocking out the copy. Great friend. It's been digitalized and you can search on it. So I searched myself and found that one of my brothers was the treasurer of Avpop for many years. I thought that's something to do with sheep and wolves and
How brilliant!
No, it's good. Anglo-Port. It's just come out digitally. It's fantastic.
That name is so evocative of another time as well, isn't it? You can imagine that was probably dreamed up in a bar, wasn't it? It's like, we can't sit here drinking all day. Yeah. What are we going to do? Well, more people seem to be interested in this place. We should start a newspaper.
Yeah, exactly.
when drunken memories the next day. Did we start a newspaper yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes. Anglo-Portugal News. I've got some chaps coming over to write for it. I need to pick them up later on.
Happy days. Time. One wonders what the inland regions, and especially the central region, was like back then, pre-EU, pre-motorways and roads and this, that, and the other. But it would have had a railway system that's probably more extensive than now.
Yeah.
But I would love to time travel back to anywhere and go back 50 years, pre-revolution, and just see what was really going on. It'd be fascinating.
Can we recreate that as a holiday experience, Paul?
Well, the Salazar weekend, could do.
The Salazar weekend in Faro. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the jails are still around, aren't they?
Yes, they are. For anybody who steps out of line, that's the constant threat hanging in the air. And
there'd be no graffiti, of course. Yeah,
no graffiti. Yes, I think a nice woolen suit to put on arrival and a hat, a very sensible hat. This plan is coming together, but that's not why you came here this morning. As much fun as that's been, let's roll a little bit of VT and find out what you've been up to in central Portugal with your projects. Oh, I think my video deck here has shuffled them. Will that be a
Okay.
massive problem if I just press any of them at random?
Well, just see what's going on. I forget what you've got.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, well, let's
Yeah.
both catch up with what
Yeah.
you've been up to. Okay, I'm going to do them in longest first, then, and we'll make our way through them.
All right, we'll see what we got. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look.
Okay, Gumpers, this is to show you what Skullduggery Rural Properties gets up to. We just bought a large building in Sertat in the historic area, in which are two rather perfect apartments. I say perfect, they're untouched in many, many years. So they have wooden floors in good condition, shutters, lovely old panelling. More importantly, a little kitchen. More importantly, a rather splendid view to the church and over the town. So there's two apartments plus, lucky us, a free little house in the yard that was designated as storage, but it will soon be divided off, made into a little 80 square metre house with its own garden. And then the building next door we bought as well is more apartments and a yard with the original cobbles. So it's a trip down history lane. So work has started on the little house and will soon start on the apartments. More news soon.
Oh, look, we found a little house in the garden.
Yeah, well, it was down as storage, but in fact, I inquired from an elderly neighbour, and he said, "Oh, I remember the family who lived there. They were cobblers and left in 1980."
Really?
So it has got a history of occupation. Luckily, should I ever need to prove that to the council, but
Fair enough.
It's a 3-level house. I mean, it's just down as a storage thing. It was complete to the sellers. It was just completely irrelevant. It's the shed in the yard. But to me, it's probably resell at about 170,000. So I was quite happy to take that off their hands, as they say.
What a lovely find, and that style of the corridor. I myself ended up in an old bed and breakfast renovation project in Korea near Anadia and Meliada, and it reminded me of that building where the room's off a central corridor. That's quite a popular building style, isn't it? From that sort of
it is. And in houses too. You enter the front door, you look down the corridor, and there's the toilet with the seat up, and it's left, right, room, left, right.
Yes.
Usually with a kitchen and toilet added on the back in concrete that leaks, and that's where you get the mold neatly segueing into your next
wonderful feng shui right there. The open toilet seat at the end of the corridor. Why though? Was it for simplicity of build that they would have been made like that?
Because it's always been like that, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was pre-open plan living and central heating, so it's lots of separate rooms. The bedrooms are sort of kept cold, and the living room, there'll be one room with a fire that everyone clumps around.
Yes.
Traditionally, then you'd have the kitchen and the massive chimney that people would sit around and eat in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But these apartments were posh. A scion of the family lived there till she died, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
And it looks like she never did any renovations. They clearly added a toilet. It was a duplex, not 2 apartments. It was one apartment on 2 levels. The loo was clearly added later. So I don't even ask how they used to function before.
Right.
So they're in untouched condition. The woodwork's superb. It was all carpeted or linoed, and
yes,
lifting that rather hesitantly, it revealed an absolutely perfect wooden floor, which you would spend a lot of money to replace if it was.
Yeah, it looked great, and I could see the telltale signs of a ripped up lino there, or oilcloth, as some people call it, and pretty much unlived in since the 80s.
No, the house in the back is unlived in since the 80s. The inside of that was wood, so that's now been removed. So
Okay.
inside is just a void now, so we can
Yes.
redesign it. No, the apartments, the lady lived there till I think 3 or 4 years ago, and that
I see.
must have prompted the family, which there was, I think, 7 signatures at the Escritura, prompted
Okay,
them
exciting
to
stuff.
start. But it was that building and the one next door they owned as well. So I've inherited I'm now a landlord of a shoe shop who pays
Cobblers.
the princely sum of between 50 and 100 euros a month. And
Incredible.
yeah, it is. Yeah, no, it's good.
Right.
It is.
Right.
So
So,
it's
and you can get
very interesting building. And our design team from Portimao are coming up next week to offer some redesign options.
how incredible. Serta. So lots to be said about that little town. I was
Yeah.
there a few months ago. It's wonderful, isn't it? On the river there.
Yeah.
A place of another beer festival I went
Yes.
to, which beer yoga. They do a nice little festival there, don't they? And a very interesting and lovely town in central Portugal, Serta. Let's have a little look at a little bit more video, shall we? And see what you've got for us here.
So, Rural Properties is now the proud owner of 2 apartments on top of each other in Serta's historic zone, with much of the original features. Lovely wooden ceilings, all in good condition, lovely floors. But the most important thing is the view. There we are. It's worth a few euros of anybody's money. So work has commenced on the outside, but I've got to show you the original bathroom. I mean, a classic tub. It's for long, thin people, or maybe a couple of adults. Wonderful. So I might preserve that bidet and sink as well. So there's always something one can keep. But there we are. That's the pride and joy.
That must be one of the finer and more enjoyable moments of what you do. Is when you can get a sense of the history of a place and just walk around having purchased it. How much of that will remain, do you think, in the renovation of that look? I mean, there's those little details like the window lights above the doors. That's a lovely touch, isn't it? I guess that's bringing some street light into the corridor, and the little upstands, where the door architraves meet the skirting in a grand little way, don't they? With a little sort of pillar coming up from the skirting board. How many of these details will you keep for in the
All of
renovation?
it.
Really? Okay, excellent.
Yeah, the wooden floors will be stripped with our industrial weapons grade stripper sander, and re-stained. Some of the woodwork's heavily varnished and stained anyway, so that will be painted a lighter color, and just the whole place will be modernized, but the structure will remain the same. We'll cut out some walls to make larger rooms, but the walls are all lath and plaster, so they're not load bearing. So we can be interesting to show you when it's finished. Actually, it'll be
yeah. Let's track this journey with you, if we may. So more to show you now.
Yeah, it'll be markedly different, but also underneath the same.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's have a look a little bit more. I'll do a couple back to back here.
So when Rural Properties buys old apartments, this one being in the historic centre of Serta, it's interesting to find a 1960s extendable lamp that goes meant to go up and down. It's probably over a table. The main thing though is the original features, such as the kitchen tiling, all the floors, and the woodwork, shuttering, panelling, and some rather splendid ceilings. Some of the lighting fixtures were obviously unwanted presents from the looks of it. So this soon will be I wouldn't say modern, but modernised, upgraded apartment. And there's the same size above. So we'll make 2 out of what was 1 apartment on 2 levels. So that's what we're up to. People ask me what we look for when buying old buildings. Well, this kitchen, I look for the original tiles. Massive old chimney, obviously. And original woodwork. Shutters. The windows are replacement, so they'll be replaced. Shutters, some nice panelling, beautiful wooden floor preserved by carpeting and lino, and fantastic ceilings, all of which add value to what will become 2 apartments in Surte's historic zone. The main thing, of course, forgetting all that, the main thing is the view, which is very pleasant on a crisp evening. Excellent.
I'm feeling the vibe of that when those floorboards are sanded and the walls have been whitewashed, possibly. No wood chip, no magnolia, just some brilliant, brilliant white, and a summer evening and a breeze. Maybe some nice. I could just feel it, the breeze coming in across on a summer evening. What a lovely place.
It's a fantastic view, and I think they were reluctant to sell, but enough of them were skinned that made it. I think they must have had a family meeting. Hard to deal with it. I think the deal took 8 months to put together. So it was, and a few grumpy and sad faces at the lawyer's office. But when the check was produced, there were smiles all around. So. I think it's quite often a relief, I think, to families because they're earning nothing from it, from the rents, really, enough to cover the houses haven't been maintained. So it's economically idiotic to hang on to things just because it was built by grandpa, So it's and quite a well-known local family too. One of them was a previous mayor, so they're quite well known. That all their fiscal addresses are in Surte. Even though they came far and wide to sign. So
they'll be keeping an eye on what you're doing, won't they, as well, of course?
It's kind of the end of an era, but part of what I need to try and ensure is they feel that they're handing over a property into good hands, and they don't.
So yes, absolutely. Well, as I say, they will be watching you, won't they? They will be watching and seeing what's happening.
Yeah, and that is interesting. A lot of it is the sort of emotional side, because it's invariably multiple owners, and families never agree. And what you don't want is the next family meeting, one saying we should never have sold that, and says see what they've done to it. They've not done that or whatever. So it is quite an interesting path to try and navigate as best I can.
Well, it's lovely to hear you taking that seriously and having even a thought about that, because you don't need to, do you, necessarily? Aviva's here this morning. Joao, I find seeing all the empty properties very disheartening. Well, you haven't spent much time here yet, Jackie. Get used to that. Although Paul is doing his best to bring them back into service. They look so sad, but with patience, love, and a few euros, they could look amazing. That's exactly what's happening. The wooden ceilings and floors in good condition are very appealing. And Hugh on the same page here. Keep the wood natural, which I suspect you will be. I see a wall or two that could be knocked out. Will you do that? Asked Ernesto. So some of that will be going on. Global Noble's also in. Look, Martin, when you renovate, do you also redo the plumbing and electric? You will of course do that.
Essentially, yeah.
Do you have to? Are you obliged to do that in a property and bring what seem like dangerous electrics up to date?
No, but I don't want to fry anyone. So
that's very good of you. Yes.
Yeah, I don't want any claims. And renovations like this don't need camera approval. It's not a project. I'm not changing the footprint or anything dramatic.
Really? Okay, that's good to know. Right.
I mean, I've talked to them anyway, as long as I are sensitive about the windows, and it's the old thing. It's what they're more interest in what the outside looks like than the inside.
Yes.
But we're having to divide, I mean, the two buildings side by side, and the spare house at the back are under two property numbers, two registration numbers. So they have to be divided into fractions. So that requires an engineer's floor plan going in, justifications, etc. All that's been done and submitted. So it will be divided up legally, and along with that, obviously EDP, Reds need to come and put in multiple meters, and they will want to see that the wiring is done properly and upgraded. So it's
very good
a process, but I don't want to flood or electrocute anyone. So
no, that's very good of you. And the tiles that you mentioned, how much of that will you keep?
Well, the kitchen, I rather like the kitchen as is. I think putting a sort of space age kitchen in there look a bit strange, as much as possible. And I mean, they'll also, with care, lift off the wall, but that kitchen area is tiled up to about 1.5 meters all the way around.
Yes,
and it's quite a traditional look. If you strip out all the other bits, just leave the tiling, you can create something that is sensitive to its era.
How lovely. How lovely. Good to see you here, Antonio F. Joao F. Sorry, Joao E. I assume the place did not have modern heating or cooling. No, just had windows for that sort of thing. Putting that in makes the open spaces sensible. Well, and possible, of course. So what will go in there? Log burners, pellet heater, this sort of thing?
There was a salamander in one of the apartments, but long since gone because the vent hole was blocked up. I would very possibly put in a couple of salamanders, but of the ornate variety, depending on the style that we choose. But there'll be, because of the sun exposure from midday onwards, I'll put in probably air conditioning split system, so you got hot and cold. I don't like doing that. It's difficult to put in a full sort of pellet powered central heating system in 100 square meters. I mean, it's kind of, or putting in heat pumps and things. It's not it's not economic really. But if somebody catches the apartment early and wants it, we can design a system according to their needs as well.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because it's so exciting, isn't it, to see it at this stage and then possibly be influential as the buyer to see what you want to keep and or add to the property. So that's possible, isn't it, when people work with you?
It can be done if somebody, as I say, catches it early on. That was a model that we've used in the past, mostly on larger farmhouses, where we wait till we have a bar and they can have the rooms configured as they want. But it's kind of easier on bigger properties. Apartments kind of lend themselves to a certain layout anyway.
Yes,
and making some open plan spaces, cutting through walls. So it's, but yeah, open to all offers. Incidentally, it's quite interesting. Up the road in Pedrógão Pequeno, where we have Casa Adelina.
Yes,
I was looking at the pricing of that, which is 275, and it's less per square meter than an apartment in Ceuta, and I mean an apartment on the edges of Ceuta, in the sort of I wouldn't say the commuter belt, but the outskirts where they've got the sort of clumpy modern blocks.
Yes.
A sort of 14, 15, 1600 a meter. The house that is beautifully renovated, a whole house in Pedrógão Pequeno with a terrace but no garden, is 1400 a meter. So instead of an apartment, you can have a whole house for that. So it is
very interesting.
So we'll be aiming at the top level in terms of pricing for the Ceuta ones in the historic area.
I noticed you mentioning that historic area. Yes, it is a lovely town. It's if you're not familiar with it, go visit Ceuta. It's really a lovely place, and that section along by the river there, where they put public events on, is really very nice.
Two rivers, two river towns.
Is it the confluence? Is it right? Okay, very good.
I think there is a confluence. Yeah.
Okay, I remember that. A final piece of video then before we say goodbye and farewell to you, at least for the time being. We'll see you again every month, of course. And rural-properties.com is where you'll find Paul and other properties. Let's have a look at one more video.
I'm in the upper apartment of Rural Properties' recent purchase in Sertaz historic zone. Lovely floors, lovely ceiling, everything wood. It's got the old windows above the doors. This will make a fantastic apartment for a new buyer. That's the view. Very nice. This is what we get up to, is buying old buildings from people that very complicated. There's 7 signatories and a family that wasn't really speaking, but we got there in the end, and we're now the proud new owners and the landlord of a shoe shop, but that's another story.
Right, are you taking offers in the future from cobblers relocating to Portugal? I guess it could all be talked about, couldn't it?
It's extra. The cobbler has been there for 44 years.
Oh, bless him. Right.
He's got a kind of fixed rent, and we asked to see the rental contract, and he just shook his head. He said, "There's never been one." He said, I shook hands 44 years ago, and it's been like that ever since. Now, of course, finances are saying, "Well, yes, can you submit the rental contract?" And I said, "Well, there isn't one." They said, "Well, there must be."
There must be. Yes. Right.
I think for the cost of doing the paperwork and everything, I'll just let him. I'll charge him €1 a month.
Yeah,
it's worth it because it's definitely cost us more in admin and bureaucracy than the rent.
Good for you, and good for him as well. After that sort of career and being part of Portuguese culture like that, I think he should be subsidised and looked after. So thanks for doing that, Paul, and your sensitivity on this matter. We drove there for dinner last night to Sertaz, only 50-minute drive from Pequeno to what a great part of the world. Good to see you here this morning, Henry, and you, Wayne, as well. Thank you for your picture of enjoying the Super Bowl. I think you enjoyed the Super Bowl coverage, didn't you, Paul? It was explained in a way that until now had eluded us, right? Yeah. Couple of final pictures then. These are stills, and we're looking at the balcony that you were showing us from the other angle.
Yeah, that's looking from the Igreja Matriz back over
yes.
towards the building. Yeah. So it's the 2 sandy coloured ones. So a bit of a jumble, but.
What sort of windows have we got there? Have we got wooden single?
No, they're aluminium replacements.
Are they? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Always great fun talking to you and finding out what you're up to in Central Portugal. Let me just put the link to your website so people can see those and more.
We've got lots of other stuff.
Okay. Yep, good. And what sort of day are you looking forward to in a drizzly Central Portugal, I'm guessing?
The sun is shining. I've got a meeting at
good for you.
A meeting at 10 o'clock. Then I've got a showing at midday, and it's all that sort of stuff. I was up in way north of Porto last week.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing a lot more third-party sales. But people approach us saying, "We've tried estate agents. Can we try you to sell our crumbling pile?" Or swathe of countryside. So we went to one place overlooking the Douro. I mean, it's fantastic. Where you've got the pristine vineyards either side and this overgrown sort of triangle in the middle.
How tempting is that, though? I mean, obviously you don't want to be trading on a reputation for handling crumbling piles, but it must be tempting when people say, "I've got this amazing property," and they're probably right. Bit like Hughes Place, there are these fabulous residences, aren't there, around Portugal? And your curiosity must get the better of you sometimes with these.
Well, yeah, I'm curious, and it's that we tend to be contacted by people, by like-minded people. It's just they've got a problem and they like what we represent and what we offer, and they don't want to deal with Remax or Era or the mainstream
for some reason.
Agents. I mean, I've got a trade agency license, but I would never ever call myself an estate agent ever.
Never.
It was a sad day when I had to apply for my AMI license, only to sell third-party properties. I legally have to.
Yes.
I'm all right selling our own, but it was a sad day. But no, there was saw 2 amazing places, and I am getting 1 or 2 inquiries a week, many of which I reject because it's a 4-bedroom house on the coast somewhere, not interested. But if it's something historic or rural with a potential income or overgrown or whatever, because we got buyers for things like that. It's amazing who looks at our website. It's quite extraordinary.
Incredible. Okay, well, I was going to get you a pink shirt and a Filofax for Christmas, but I won't be doing that after all. Okay, all right.
Together, sort of burgundy coloured trousers.
Oh yes, now you're talking, Paul. Instead of a rental agreement, says Antonio F, you can make a contrato de comodato, which is a free rental agreement. A little bit of
Antonio, I think I probably will, because it's really not worth collecting the rent.
And how lovely for that particular gentleman. I can only imagine what the shop's like. There must be some boots in there that have been waiting for somebody to pick them up since.
Because he fixes shoes as well as sells them. But,
yes, incredible.
But I mean, don't imagine he's a poor struggling cobbler. He owns the building opposite.
Oh, you've ruined it for me. Okay, all right. Charge him rent then.
Okay. My hairdresser, barber's in Serta, who knows everything, Frank.
Yes.
He gives me all the lowdown on everyone.
It's just the front.
He said, "Don't be fooled, the guy's loaded." So.
Excellent. Okay, Paul, have a great day. Have a great month.
Right, thanks a lot.
See you in March. All the best. Okay, take care. Fuck it up. Gotcha. Wonderful. Right. Okay. The crowdfunder for a pink shirt and a Filofax for Paul. Forget about that, everybody. We'll have to give him something different for Christmas. Right. I was going to do Batalha Take 2. It's going to have to be Batalha Take 3. It's so much fun and so interesting talking to Paul that we've run out of time again. I can't believe it. But I will play a little bit of video from Batalha. We've played a lot of video this morning. We had a great time, of course, with Expats Portugal in Batalha over the weekend. Written about it. It'll be in the Portugal Resident tomorrow. I would love to share with you the moment in our tour where Filomena showed us the highest dome, not just in Portugal, but in all of the world at the Batalha Monastery. So let me just hand over to Filomena as she shares with us this remarkable, feat of architectural stone masonry. Okay, this is the Good Morning Portugal on the Expats Portugal day trip, basically the field trip to the Batalha Monastery, and let's have a look who's here with us. Guess who I bumped into?
And
Filomena.
In the chapels with the highest dome in the world.
See, Portugal's so
Look
modest.
at that.
Portugal's so modest about these things. We're going to go through and look at it in just a moment. But this is incredible, Filomena. Could you just repeat that for the benefit of everybody?
The highest dome in the world.
Here in Portugal.
In the world.
Okay, so here it's Portuguese, folks. It's the first. It's the only. It's the highest dome in the world.
Turn it up.
There you go.
It's a blue one, lovely
It's
blue one.
beautiful. Take that, Sistine Chapel. Wonderful. So we've been to Almorol Castle, haven't we, in the river today? We've been to Serta to see Paul's a small collection of I was going to say Castilian, his apartments in the sky there in Serta. And I just want to show you a little bit more of a creative video I made of this highest dome in the world. You might want to hold on to something as you look at this, though, and hopefully you haven't had your breakfast yet. But just look at this. It just gives you a little bit more insight into the architecture there. And these are the unfinished chapels, apparently, of Batalha Monastery. An amazing place. I've written more about it and the history of it in The Resident this week. And I'll show you more pictures tomorrow. We'll have to do Batalha Take 3 tomorrow. But just check this out before we go. And we can't go until we've addressed a few more comments here. I expect a few other domes in the world have those infinite ceilings. That's what they would be called in real estate, Paul. The infinite ceiling, as in no roof. My neighbour used to say the monastery in Batalha will be finished before your house. Excellent. And I love her sense of humour, says James. That's brilliant. the monastery will be finished before your house. I did some rappelling down Almorol Castle a few decades ago. That would be impossible now. Was it official or not? Did you just take your ropes there, Antonio F., and just threw them over the side and had a bit of fun there? And going back, yes, not a so deep thought. If good is less than very good and not very good, then is not very good the same as good? Oh, you've confused me there, Joao Ernesto. Thank you for that. And you also say, well, in our conversation, reflecting on the conversation with Paul earlier on, and legendary expats, I find expats in general to have quite interesting lives just by virtue of being elsewhere than their native home. It means they are unlike the usual hoi polloi. And going back to the complexity or not of cooking Portuguese food and recipes, is thought to be the second most difficult to cook in the world. And the comparison was made by Jackie with Portuguese and Welsh food. Used to buy mackerel from the fishermen at Fishguard Harbour, a little flour and slapped in the pan. Gorgeous. Well, you can do that here in Portugal as well. And maybe we will the weekend when we see you, Coach. Thank you for being here. A little bit of a plug for the upcoming weekend where we'll see the coach. Come and meet him and many other Gumpers who will be there having a great time at the weekend. See you soon. See you in the morning. Take care. Bye for now. Have a great